Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae, also known as Wildbow. You can read Worm in its original format by visiting parahumans.wordpress.com or donate to Wildbow's Patreon at patreon.com/wildbow. This story isn't intended for young or sensitive readers. Readers who are on the lookout for trigger warnings are advised to give Worm a pass. For a complete list, check the description for all of Worm's trigger warnings.
Good morning, Brockton Bay. Unpack those lunch boxes and get a refund for all your school supplies. It looks like school's out forever.
Hey.
Forever.
Forever.
Forever, ever.
Oh.
Forever.
No, it's
Well, what if you
it's,
like school?
It's true.
In
School's
the
back in
words
session.
of apparently all of the PRT, fuck them kids, bro.
And that is what they say in chapter 7 here, I think. Yeah.
No, it's 20.6.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go. Welcome everybody to another
you.
edition of the Brockton Bay Book Club.
So good
Good
to
to be
here.
back. Good to be
It
back.
is good to be back. We say that like this isn't going to come out a week after the last episode, but
Oh,
it's been
yeah.
a couple weeks since we recorded, so it feels like it's been a minute.
And it's
Little-
such a short episode. Like, it's going to be such a short thing. It's like, could we do just this and the next one, please?
Right, do it at once. Well, I didn't read the next arc yet.
I was about to
so
I barely got this one, y'all.
be a little tricky.
Yeah.
Well, we got a fun arc here.
Fun.
Which arc is it?
Fun.
Arc
pretend.
20.
It's our
Hopefully.
20 Chrysalis, baby.
Better be. That's what I read.
That is also what I read. If it's not that, I'm in trouble.
Man. Coming in at like 4,500, maybe just shy of 45,000 words. So one of like, what, 3 shortest arcs?
Jesus.
Yeah, especially
It
coming
felt
off
quick.
what we just,
Very
coming off of like 17, 18, 19, and then you get to 20 and it's just like a nice little breather. Kinda
It's
It's
relax
kind of
in the
nice.
moment.
It's kind of
Yeah.
nice.
In
Having a
the
nice in between.
words of Reddit user Noveno Colono, Worm 20.5 is literally better than sex. And I will say that for this almost this entire arc, sans
Yeah.
the interludes. Nothing against them, but holy cow, the regular arc 20 was just orgasmic almost all the way through.
I 100% agree. I think this might have been my favorite arc. I think
Like-
this might, yeah.
It's not even the most well written.
No.
It's not even like the best arc. It just
But it just
felt the best.
it felt
Mm.
so I think I exhibited more emotion during this arc than all of the others because I've cried and I've laughed out loud and I've like got goosebumps, but I did all that all of that happened with just 5 chapters. Yeah.
God, I am like kind of getting out of breath. Like breath catching just thinking about
I'm
this.
tearing up. I'm tearing up
Like,
just thinking
ooh.
about it.
Like I want to punch the air. Like,
Yeah. I want to run up a bunch of steps and punch the air.
fuck yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
A bunch of steps.
What are we waiting for?
Michael, there's this thing called Rocky.
It took me a second because I was already
You watch
punching the air.
Wrexham.
I was about to
They
say.
just did this.
It's the Wrexham episode. That's why it's on my mind.
It's been a long day, but I love the image. We should all do that.
Let's dive in. Unless anybody else has some other intro thoughts they want to get out.
I just want to say this real quick. I tried. I tried. I did my best. I thought I was doing good. I read this arc thinking there was only one interlude, and right before recording, realized that there were two as I was trying to write the summaries. And so I cannot carry the conversation for the last interlude when we get to it. I'm letting, you guys all know this, but I'm letting our listeners know that I dropped the ball and I'm sorry and I feel bad and please forgive me. That is all. Thank you so much.
Well, I mean, it's fair, sometimes you don't want to click next chapter in case the first words are, so Taylor's dead.
Yes.
And you spoil the big moment for yourself,
All right.
True.
I was listening to
Exactly.
the Worm audio book too. So I really didn't have any excuse. I had all the episodes laid out in front of me and I knew, but I didn't know. And I was a fool.
It happens.
I was a fool.
You had to take a little Taylor Swift break or sleep token break, and then
I was going to say
you
it wasn't a
forgot to
Taylor
come
Swift
back.
break. It was a sleep token break. That's fine. Anyways.
Okay.
Let's dive in.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we'll just go chapter at a time here. I think that makes sense. We not much
Yeah, I
to
think
combine.
so,
Just
too.
kind of go. We only got 7 total, including the interlude. So
Yep.
we'll just go through it. Kick us
Yep.
off, Hannah.
It's a short arc. Chapter 1, we start out. Taylor is back at home. She wakes up at her dad's house. They have a little talk about school as they eat some delicious crepes. And Taylor heads off with the promise of having lunch with her dad later. Heads off to her territory, where she's told him she's gonna continue working rather than go to school. So she heads off to the territory to get some stuff done and deals with some thugs that are causing some mischief in her territory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can I just say, this conversation that Taylor has with her dad in the morning is the most independent teenager conversation.
Yeah.
And it hurt in a weird way. And maybe part of it's because I'm a dad too. So I kind of can see the future of one day, you hope you launch your kids out into the world successfully. You've done a good job.
Mm.
But just to imagine your 16-year-old coming to you and being like, no, Dad, I'll let you have a say in my life. Just
Yeah.
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 And the line, I hope you never have to hear
Yeah.
your kids say
If
that
you
to
ever
you.
have a kid, I
That one
hope
hurt me. That one hurt me.
And she still doesn't get it. She's like, I don't understand. I'm trying to be nice and let you have a say in my life.
Yeah. Oh.
It's a really
Danny.
it's just such a reminder that our main characters in this series are kids, and we get a few of those moments throughout the series, and this is one of them where it's just like, man, imagine being a competent adult in this world and just having to deal with this teenage bullshit all day.
Yeah.
I like reading this story. I really, they're great characters, but I'm always rooting against the Miss Militias, right? Those types of
Yeah.
characters. But then thinking about it and taking a step back, it's like she must just hate putting up with awards every single day, and Danny and Taylor and the rest of the Undersiders. It's just such a vibe, and I love it.
That's so true.
Yeah, there's also the whole comment about talk about growing up and one day you realize your parents aren't all knowing and all powerful. And I mean, that for me hit really home because I remember that moment. And, it's one of those things that's never said. Well, sometimes it's never said. Some people are parents and they insist they're always right. But it's one of those things that's never really explicitly said a lot of times that your parents are always right. But there's sort of this, I don't know, it's implied. Yeah, I'm an adult and, I'm trying to do my best and therefore I have to be right all the time in order to raise this kid. And you don't, but it still comes across like that to the kid a lot of times. Eventually you realize they're not in fact God. And it's that's when the rebellious stage starts because they realize you're imperfect. And I don't know. There's just a lot of feelings there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
love
love
it.
Taylor
Well written.
making breakfast for Danny is very much of I'm taking care of you role reversal moment of just the two of them interacting. And it's very much, especially coming off of the end of the last bit with kind of Emma's realization that oh well Taylor's not the same person, she's one of the survivors now. Taylor trying to fit back into, the square peg into the round hole. It's like she's trying to fit back into maybe having that space with her dad. And it's like, you can tell me, if I have a curfew, you can I'm giving you permission. I'm giving you permission to put those restrictions on me. It's like we've passed that. We've moved into a different space now.
Yeah.
And that's just she has been dealing with truly adult things in the sense of basically being a district manager and having employees, and on top of that, dealing with extremely.
Manager.
Yeah,
No, it's
she's a
perfect.
district
I
manager.
love it.
And now she's the team lead, actually. In fact, on top of that, and she's got employees, and she's dealing with money, and she's rescuing kids from kidnappings, and she's surviving things. And so, to her, she's really trying to forcibly insert herself back into being a teenager. And I think Danny knows way before she does. He's like, this is never going to go. The moment you told me you can't tell me I have to live here anymore and I'm leaving and I'm not going to contact you, our relationship changed forever. And we can't go back to me being your dad and telling you, be home by 11, kid. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
And she's trying so hard to make it normal again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I will say, on that note of this scene, I really do love her internal monologue of her trying to manage everything. And I think really in this arc, we see more than before her secondary sort of thinker powers active as she's trying to multitask being a decent daughter and, managing everything in her territory.
Yeah.
I was actually going to say the whole start to this arc, the writing wise, felt very weird. I don't know if it felt like this to anybody else, but this felt like the start to a story, as if we were restarting this character. The way it felt written almost felt like getting back into this character's body and perspective. If I had to put a finger on it, I'm gonna look at the date. This feels like Wildbow took an extended sabbatical and came back and wrote, the rest of Worm. I'm actually going to look at the time. And if it's around Christmas, I'm calling it.
Well,
Nice.
The arc is called Chrysalis, though. So there's also kind of some thematic reasons for that.
Christmas? Oh,
no, that's not what I meant.
What? No. I know. I see what you're trying to say, though. We're talking. Oh my God. We're talking about Taylor's moment of changing.
It was in the middle of March. I don't know.
Okay.
He had to take off for March Madness. I'm sure Wildbow is a huge college basketball fan.
Yeah, definitely.
Reset his brain.
Wildbow, if you actually are a March Madness fan, no shade. It's fantastic.
Everybody's
a March Madness fan.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, Hannah has something to say.
It's fine. I just mean that when we started Worm all the way back in Arc 1, this is how we opened with Taylor and her dad in the morning, that opener to the Hebert household. And it feels like this is an excellent way to kind of bookend that of that was the beginning of Skitter and now it's the end of Taylor, the idea of beginnings and ends and coming full circle. It feels right to be back at home and making breakfast and talking about school with Danny. It feels right to be back here again, knowing, of course, now looking back at the arc, looking at it and being this is what we're doing. It makes sense because we can feel it coming full circle again. And it's the end of an era and I'm okay with it. It feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it like that, but yeah, I guess if we're doing the whole ellipses, is that right? We're back at the other end.
Yeah.
Then this feels if that's the case, that it feels right. It feels interesting to have that day over again, but things are very different with the making toast and breakfast and going out to run and all that jazz. Like, yeah, I guess so.
And Taylor's just such a different character at this point too in the story. Like, she's waking up in her dad's house as arguably the most powerful villain in the city, who literally just murdered one of the most powerful villains in the city. She's, on the heroes most wanted list. She's what's the word I'm thinking of? Just sort of ascended to a height that is unfathomable for Danny or anybody else. And yet
regional manager.
Exactly. And she's still trying to sort of maintain that normalcy in some way. And we just see that it doesn't really work because she's just not normal anymore. And I think Hannah said it very well. It's kind of some neat foreshadowing in the beginning of this arc for where the arc ends, in that it really does feel like the death of Taylor here, because this is like her last. It feels like, looking at the arc as a whole, it's like her last attempt to try to maintain somewhat of a standard normal life, and just it's not going to happen. She's beyond that at this point.
And we see that because really, it's sort of, I think we've talked about it before, but the Batman effect, where Bruce Wayne says being Batman feels more like me than being Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's become true for Taylor, right? She has to pause her activities to pretend to be a normal teenager for Danny for a little while at breakfast, right? Like, her mind is running a million miles a second. She's checking this, checking that, checking that. Okay, pause. I need to pretend to be Taylor for a bit to try to get back to normal with my dad. And then the moment she's gone, she's right back in skitter mode, right? Okay, got to do this, got to do that, got to check on this. And it's all, it's that whole thing of like, no, she's more skitter now than she is Taylor.
And we see that in the back half of this chapter, where she goes back to her territory, and already she's got like a laundry list of things to deal with. She's got all the text messages, and things are going wrong, and everybody needs her. Like, she just is fully invested in her new life as villain-esque. I don't think villain's the right word for her at this point. Maybe it is, but it feels
I like
it's
manager.
Manager, yeah. Manager works pretty well. Manager's good. Just like city manager, territory manager.
Territory manager, yeah.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Chapter 2.
Yeah.
I was gonna say some more on chapter 1. I just love the mundanity of this.
Of course you do.
This arc is everything I wanted. Finally.
All the normal.
Wanted.
Yeah. Thank you for singing my audition song. No, it's
More musical win.
Let's see. Oh my gosh, Worm the musical. Are you ready for it?
No.
I think we had this bit before.
I don't think I'll ever be ready for it.
Let's see. The Fallen are introduced, which I have. The Merchants 2.0 now with religion. Forrest is finally like officially introduced.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I did want to mention that. I love Forrest that he's here.
I love Forrest. What a big goof. Strong camp counselor vibes.
Yes. Oh my God. That's what I was going to say. He gives such strong camp counselor vibes. He's
big
like,
old Sasquatch.
Absolutely. And he just like backs her up with like an eyebrow quirk and like a nod. And I love that so much.
Yeah, all the kids are just climbing on him.
Yes.
You know who he kind of reminds me of? Visually, if you imagine, I know that not everybody will get this. But do you know the character? His name is Sig Curtis. He's the husband of Izumi Curtis in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yes.
Who Izumi was like their teacher. He's just this big, burly guy with a huge beard who's really quiet but super strong. You just put glasses on Sig Curtis, and that's what I imagine Forrest looks like.
Yeah.
That is now. You've given me my mental image for Forrest. Thank you.
And then Greg, you piece of shit.
Oh
Yeah.
Greg, you
It
piece of
can't have
shit.
a good thing with that goddamn Greg.
That's true. I also can't forget. I really like the way that she deals with the thugs in the territory that are they've like beat up and stolen from this one couple, and he's like, please be lenient. And she's like, cool. So she like has a bunch of bullet ants bite them, and then has them turn themselves in. And he's like, I thought like I asked you to be lenient, and all I could think of was like, bitch. Come, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
Like, come on. And she says the perfect line. She's like, that was leniency. Like, yeah. Fuck yeah. Tell him.
Oh my God. I will say, I can't repeat everything that those thugs say.
Oh my
but that's
God.
the most like unintentionally comedic part of this arc, I think, where it's like, he's like the line that gets
he's trying so hard.
The line that gets me is when the man is like, we're good Christians and we should turn the other cheek. And one of the thugs just says, why don't you spread those cheeks and get fucked?
It was so funny. It was really funny. I love the like his use of all of those words too is very like, it's so juvenile. Like he's like using every word he could think of. Like when you give a little kid permission to cuss and they're like, butt, ass, penis, and you're like, keep going, bud, you got this. Like that's what I felt. These stupid fucking thugs, like they're just going off, and it's like, dude, you sound so stupid, man. Like you don't even sound like okay. all right.
It's one of those where I'd love to say like, oh man, this is just Wildbone not knowing how to swear properly, but I've also met those people before.
Yeah,
and that is absolutely they just don't know how, like language can just be used for anything. It's like the worst form of jazz. Just
oh my gosh, I
unstructured improv. Just
it's like so scatting, except there's no music and it's not rhythmic at all.
Oh boy, oh it's so good, so good. All right, shall I go on to chapter 2?
Yeah,
let's do.
All right, so chapter 2, after the whole text from Charlotte in regards to Greg. Taylor heads to Arcadia High to talk to Greg, get him to back off. And while she's there, we run into Emma.
I don't know what it's in regards to in particular, but my note just says, nah, fuck Emma.
I mean,
what? I think it's because in the last arc, in the last interlude, right, we're kind of like, oh, maybe Emma's a bit more sympathetic. Not really, but like, she has trauma too.
There's some context, yeah.
So even though with that context, though, she comes in and we're just like,
oh fuck her,
bitch.
Yeah, no, like I think I'll probably put it somewhere else, but like my guess is very much like before when Emma was bullying Taylor, and she was like, Taylor, what the hell are you doing with your life? Like you're such a loser. Like there's a weird, the parent checking up on a kid and they don't know how to communicate that they want them to do something or like trying to care about them, but they're doing it in the worst way possible. Like she literally is like, what are you doing with your life? Like you have no social life. You have no job. Like what the fuck are you? Doesn't even look like you're showing up to classes, which just sounds like a parent being like do something with your life. And Emma kind of gives off those weird vibes where she very clearly is paying attention to Taylor, and she has this thing for her because they just spent so much time together because they were friends. Like she even says when like Taylor finally like starts, I forget, doing whatever she was doing, like lashing back finally, she's like, where the hell was this one all along? Like we wouldn't have picked, like obviously the we wouldn't have picked on you is all bullshit, but
yeah,
it belies some sort of, I don't know, familiarity, or I don't know what the word is. Like almost a desire that like, I wish that you had been like this before, because then I could have stayed friends with you and it wouldn't have been, all shit.
See, I think it's
Blech.
almost the opposite. I read it is like she's trying to taunt Taylor, like, oh, well, if you had been like this the whole time, we would have stayed friends. But that's not true. She's just
Yeah.
trying to still get under Taylor's skin here. Really, she's pissed that she can't
Making her
and is
feel
trying to come
shitty.
up with,
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely
Um,
think that's also happening. But
yeah.
I think when she says like, for that line at least, that for that, I think she was.
Hard
It's
to
possible.
say.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
a
I don't know.
great conversation.
Even that line though, yeah, it just made me angry. Where I'm just like, first of all, we know that's not
Yeah.
true. We know that you
Yeah.
went off in your own, like, I'm not going to be a survivor. I'm going to be an overcomer. I'm going to be a hunter. Whatever Sophia's messed up worldview is. Like, this is just another way for her. She's really trying to. I mean, Emma's just a little tattletale, basically trying to find any weakness, exploit it.
Oh, I
and
have notes on that.
Yeah.
yeah. In this case, I think Emma's new in town, and she probably doesn't know as many people as she used to because everybody's kind of jumbled up together. So this is her way of, I'm going to establish my dominance here with the popular kids by, oh, look,
Yeah.
here's my easy target. I can make myself look good. And it
I
doesn't
know
go
this
like
one.
she expects. Yeah.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, Emma bullying is so weak compared to Tattletale.
Oh, it's so weak. Oh my gosh.
That's
She could have
some
done
weak
so
ass
much better.
shit.
She's just like throwing shit out. And I love that it doesn't bother Taylor because I'm on the edge of my seat, listening to the audiobook being like, oh my gosh, please, Taylor, do not react to this because this is so weak. Like, please don't. And the fact that she didn't gave me such joy. But like, I just like, what is this the best you've got? Like, oh, you've gotten weak in your old age, Emma, because this sucks.
One is, again, it's just, again, revisiting right the beginning. We opened up the story with a scene of Taylor getting bullied and crying and being like, I'm not going to use my powers even though I want to. But she's clearly upset by it. Whereas now Emma's approaching her and she's like, I just want to use my powers on you to make you shut up. Like, I don't want to engage with you. I don't have time for this crap. And everything you're doing is just sad now. And I really love that Taylor now is like confident enough to say, yeah, what you're doing is sad. And honestly, I don't really care anymore. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised that Taylor stood there for that long.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
am
I
I.
know
Why
that
did
she
you
was
just
get-
walk away?
Yeah, give her a good shoulder bump.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, but like the amount of, she's like, I don't give a fuck about this. And she realized like, I don't give a fuck. And I'm surprised that she didn't, I don't know, like act on not giving a fuck more by just like, yeah, that's cool, Emma. I gotta go. I got literally shit to do. So,
I think part of it kind of goes back maybe a little bit into that unreliable narrator aspect of the story where I think she does give a little bit of a fuck. Emma is still a big part of how she became Skitter, and so I think there is still a bit of a connection there. And although she clearly has risen above and beyond Emma at this point, there's still part of her that's like still pretty angry at Emma and is happy to sit
Yeah.
here for a minute and dish it out back and forth just to get her 2 cents in.
Absolutely. And I think later, to bring in something from a bit later, not too much, when she notices Emma later in that tense scene, that moment where she's like, Emma's so low on my concerns. God, I wish Emma wasn't here. I almost want to hit her with my bugs to get rid of her. It's like, it is that unreliable narrator thing where you kind of realize you still care a lot more about Emma maybe than you're letting on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it is a bit of that, almost in the sense of like, I want to prove that I'm better than you now. Not like in a sense of like I'm a better person, but just like I'm above what you're doing and you're going to try everything and then none of it's going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not to skip past Greg here.
Yeah, Greg.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel so bad for Greg.
Isn't it weird? I was going to say the same thing.
He seems so not like he clearly is just excited that like one of his who he considered was a friend like has powers and he like I figured it out so I can like help you. Like he wants to be in on the secret like and from what it sounds like he's kind of been secluded. Like he's been in town without being in town. And so I feel like he just wants to be part of something. And like he would probably be such a good henchman. But
I mean, he wants to be the guy in the van on the computer.
Yeah,
like
he would be so great. And she shuts him down so fast. And like she comes out swinging too, because she says when she first him, she said, "Are you stalking me?" That's what she said. "Are you stalking me?" And it like stops him cold because he, of course, would never expect her to come at him like that. And she's just trying to protect her identity, but like he's like God, that felt so low. Like that felt like such a fucking Emma move. Like, damn, Taylor.
One thing too that hits me with that too is that Greg and even Taylor alludes to this being like, I don't think where he was really in Brockton Bay, but Greg was on the forums, right? He tried to get that badge that said like, "Oh, I'm a Brockton Bay survivor," but they're like, you weren't really. We're gonna have to revoke it. Sorry.
Right.
And so he's I don't know. It's just such a funny and interesting character. But yeah, he's just super excited. And I love too that the saddest moment is when he's like, "Well, no, I don't like you." "Well, I did kind of, but like, it's not about that." It's just, it hurts.
Yeah. Oh man, there is so much like weird high school me energy and a little bit of college me energy in this. Cause like, I would, if I found out something, I would want to help out so much.
Oh yeah.
Like, and obviously I think he goes about it in the most wrong ways. Cause the real answer is just shut the fuck up and don't do anything. But like, if I heard something, and I mean, even now, if I found out somebody needed help with something, my gut instinct is to be like, "I barely know you, but you know what? Do you need help? Like, let me help you. Let me give way too much of myself despite us not knowing each other at all."
Mm-hmm.
And Greg is not friends with Taylor. They knew each other. They were both outcasts and were like, we're both not popular. So we kind of get that, and we occasionally give each other the nod in the hallway. Like that's it. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Gotta feel bad for my boy.
Poor
Like,
guy.
I feel for Greg, but doggone it. Like
you're out of your
what were
league
you
here,
thinking?
bud. Yeah.
Yeah, out of your league and
Yeah.
causing way too much of a ruckus about this. Like,
Yeah, Jesus. Because that's the thing. Like she runs the Undersiders, and he like if he knew who, so he's figured out who she is. Like she's running half the city, my man, and you're gonna help? Like,
It remind-
no, you're not.
It's definitely that sense of like, oh, I figured it out. Maybe I can help her hide her identity, and then I'll be her friend, and I can get in good. It's interesting though to wonder like, what does he really want out of this? Because it doesn't seem like he has an end game.
No.
Beyond just wanting to tell her like, "Hey, I know it's you. Wink, wink. Isn't that cool?"
yeah,
Like that was his whole end game. That was it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talk about the idea of like them kind of being on the outskirts of the popular kids or whatever, and like you just want to be part of something. Like you just want to you want to be part of something exciting and big, and you want to be part of the cool crowd, and you want to like not feel so alone and on the outside. And the idea that like, oh my gosh, one of my friends is a super villain and I figured it out, like that instantly, like, of course she would want me in her inner circle. Like, of course I could be part of something big like that. Like, that's a huge secret. Like, it makes sense to want to be part of something after being so not part of anything other than getting picked on.
I think it plays too, and we talk about how Wild Bow likes to take classic tropes and sort of turn them around and kind of reinvent them a bit. And like this is a textbook one for heroes, is the friend. Usually it's the best friend, but it could be, just an acquaintance finds out who the hero is, and it's a whole thing, and maybe they join the team, or maybe they become the villain for the comic or whatever it is. And this is just super straightforward. It's a lot more realistic. It's like, Greg, listen, bud, have you noticed that secret identities are kind of a big deal around here, where like villains and heroes agree not to mess with it because it's that big of a deal? This is the real world and people die. Like, it's just, buddy, put the comic book down and go home. It's it's a fun little spin on that trope.
Also great. I do want to say great theming to Wildbow in this, right? The whole theme of identity is really neatly woven into this whole arc. Because even what you just said alludes to what happens later in the arc.
Yeah, it's a big theme for this arc. Which, speaking of which, not to touch on what happens later, but is Greg stick around? I can't remember if that's mentioned or not. Is he like in the loop at the end of the arc?
Or does he just I'm pretty sure he's with the crowd.
That's what I assumed. Yeah.
Do they say that?
I don't know if they explicitly name him or not, but I would imagine he is because he's there. So like, imagine.
Yeah, they mentioned.
We don't get his perspective, but man, talk about some immediate justification.
Yeah.
Imagine he's just so sad he leaves the school for the rest of the day.
Like misses the whole show.
Oh wait, I've got a meme. Got to make the meme of the dude, the miner who turns around right before he hits the jackpot. You seen that? With the pickaxe.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
I have not.
Leaves the school right before Taylor's outed. Oh, I'll make it. Don't worry. All right, moving along. Any other thoughts? We got more Emma in the next chapter. Yeah, poor Greg.
Oh no, I'm reading this. Greg is described as shorter than Taylor with a bowl haircut. I forgot about that haircut.
No, poor guy.
Doesn't deserve that.
I'm reading from a thing from Wildbow. It's a long thing, but man, in the social sense, Greg is like a car with bald tires. No brakes, skids like hell. He takes a topic and runs with it. Faced with an obstacle or problem, he takes it too far, or he takes too long to get it and actually stop or change direction, even after people would have just realized they can't or shouldn't move forward. We're gonna super passionate, yada yada yada. Something he doesn't convey a consistent narrative. Verbal diarrhea.
Oh no! Just word vomit all over the place.
A good way to represent Greg's emotional landscape would be to double his emotions. He's not just excited; he's double excited. He's not just upset; he's double upset. He's crestfallen, destroyed.
Why would you throw him under the bus like that?
I would say that he's the type to fall in love with a girl fall in love a little with any girl he spends more than a few minutes with.
Damn.
Well, that's how it's written, and that is exactly how
that
Greg
track,
is a puppy given human form.
Yep.
He's not actually friends with Sparky, our other guy, and they just happen to like be outcasts together.
Just the bonds forged by like, hey, you're in science, I'm in science. People don't like us. We're friends. Like, no.
Well, that's the thing. It says they're not actually friends.
Yeah, I know, but like in his mind, he's like, friend.
Listen, you got to do whatever you can to stay off the bottom of the totem pole, and Sparky knows that.
He's just like shoves Greg to the bottom with Taylor.
He's like, listen, Greg.
Was this Greg's trigger event? Did he trigger his?
No.
Another bullied trigger event.
Okay, I do want to say, though, we mentioned copacetic as one of Wildbow's favorite words, which was in chapter 1.
It was.
But I think, at least in this arc, I noticed how much more he wrote the phrase, fuck me. It was in there a lot. Yeah. Well, this whole conversation, Greg says something.
Me, Greg.
Yeah, basically, like in her mind, she's like, fuck me. Fuck me, Greg. Fuck me. Just like keeps going.
Oh, fucking hell.
Changes
Just one of those
accents.
funny things you notice.
That's
Yeah.
very funny.
God. Anyway, do we move on past Greg?
Yes, we
Past
can
Greg.
move past poor
We've heard
Greg.
him enough.
Yeah, poor guy. Into chapter 3. Taylor shrugs Emma off. Emma gives her best shot and then resorts to physical violence. The principal sides with Taylor and suspends Emma's summer school privileges, telling her she can return in September.
Wow.
God, I swear to God, I got goosebumps that went up my arm, across the back of my neck, down the other arm. Like it felt so, and I have been trying to nail it down all day. I feel like this is the was it our last podcast where Alan was talking about the idea that it doesn't feel like Taylor ever wins anything. Like she's winning, but she doesn't feel like she's actually winning.
I was interacting with somebody on Reddit. It wasn't. I don't even think it was on the podcast. But one of the comments they made, because I think they were right about to begin the Echidna arc, and I could tell you if you give me a second who it was.
I was gonna say I think we talked about it in the last episode. That's why I didn't.
Yeah, you've definitely mentioned it as well, Alan.
Yeah, we don't need to go all into it.
Yeah. It was a Reddit user Vanal.
Okay. Anyways, point being though, is that I feel like this chapter, especially this section where like when the principal sides with her and we kind of have this moment where like Emma loses her cool enough to shove her. Taylor lets it happen, knowing what'll happen. The guard grabs Emma and a couple of bystanders. And then of course the principal sides with Taylor. And Taylor's like, am I fucking dreaming? Like, am I still in Echidna? Like, what the fuck? Like, this felt like that win that we've been waiting for so long because she's winning, but she's not winning. And here it's like she rose above Emma. Emma totally lost her shit and then is getting actually like she's actually getting consequences of her actions. And like I love the teacher said the principal, she says, do you want to press charges? And she's like, nah, she's not worth it. She's like, well, okay, well, we might anyways. Like, you don't have to be here. We might do it anyways. And like, that is so amazing to finally feel like we're getting justice for Taylor. We're finally seeing Emma, brought low, and it feels so good. It's just, yes. I think that's probably was a big thing about why I loved this arc so much, but damn, it feels nice.
Yeah, Taylor didn't have to stoop at all. She didn't have to stoop at all to get it done. Yeah.
Exactly. She just remained calm. And she didn't use her bugs. It just happened. And yes, I loved it.
Man, yeah. Also, the Regent texts resurface.
Yes. I'm so glad that you brought that up.
A double fuck you, Emma.
Yeah. Oh, that was great.
Oh my God.
Yep, that was from
I'm an
Regent.
idiot.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay, that is so satisfying. Like triple satisfying. Oh, let's go.
Oh, no, that was so satisfying for that finally to pay off, right?
Yeah.
Because it never did in any way for Taylor. And so now for that to be brought up and her be like, actually, you might not even be able to come back in the fall because, like, if she wants to go here, I don't think you guys should be in the same building.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Such
was
joy.
I before the principal when they're kind of fighting in the hallway? Was I reading into the scene, or was it supposed to sort of imply? Because there's the boy that stops by and is like, "Hey, does you guys all right here?" Like that's definitely one of the wards, right?
I thought it was either Clock Blocker or Kidwin. That's as soon as he popped up, I was like, it's
a
one
redhead,
of them.
right? So that would.
I was saying it's Dennis. It's fucking Dennis.
Which one's Dennis?
That's Clock Blocker.
Clock Blocker? Is he a redhead?
Somebody look it up.
Pretty sure.
Somebody
I
look
thought
it
Kidwin
up.
was the redhead.
Oh.
I mean, listen, I know that Kidwin
Dennis,
is special.
Clock Blocker, appearance. Boop-a-doop-a-doo.
Alan just stands Clock Blocker, so.
Yeah.
Red hair.
Okay, so it is Clock Blocker.
Okay. So maybe it was Clock. Maybe.
That was my thought,
Kidwin
like,
gives
it
off
has to be
redhead
him.
vibes, though.
He does.
What does that mean as a potential
You know what
redhead?
it means, Michael.
Soulless ADHD vibes.
Your words, not mine.
No, don't do that to my boy.
I'm
love
looking
him so
at a
much.
picture of Kid Win, and he has brown hair. He's described as having brown hair.
Well, I am
But I can
colorblind,
see
so
the red hair in him. Like, I can see the red hair.
Oh my god!
You know?
Oh.
It's a spiritual redhead, if you will.
What the heck, dude?
I love it. I love it so much.
Anyway, fun to read that part from Taylor's perspective, who has no idea who it is. And just being like, I imagine her thinking like, who the fuck is this kid? Just get out of here. It's not your problem.
Meanwhile, this kid's like, who the fuck is this girl bullying this other child in the hallway? Had to do some out of costume peacekeeping.
I mean, it's very heroic of him to be like, hey, is there a problem here?
Yeah, that's
like, no
why
problems here, officer.
My
God.
bullying's getting interrupted. That's what's happening. Can't you see I'm busy?
Oh, great. Some backup. Okay, you hold her down.
Yeah.
oh man. But yeah, it was satisfying, and just seeing Emma's reaction to finally losing, and her being like, "My dad's a lawyer," and the principal's like,
Oh,
"Great,
get fucked,
I'd love
Alan."
to talk to him."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Can I just say
Yeah.
though, I gotta say, I'm kind of surprised that their code name for trouble is Eric and not Alan. I just
It's disappointing.
Oh, okay. All right. We can, you know.
I love that. That's great. And Alan listener, our Alan listener, he knows Alan's a great, but Alan's a trouble. Like, why not? I love it.
It's fair.
It's
I
fair.
think we have
See,
a
Alan's
couple
great.
confirmed Alan listeners now. The Alan.
Do we?
Oh.
I
We
think
really
so.
do need an Alan fan club. I really would
think
love
you're
to
right.
make shirts. That would be really fun.
That would be
That
fun.
would be fun.
it's just a picture
Alans
of a
are
guy in a
people
suit.
too.
It's a picture of a mannequin and a guy in a suit.
Yeah. I love
Next to Alan from Barbie.
I love the idea of having a shirt that's like a grid pattern of all the different Allens. It's like Alan the lawyer, Alan the mannequin, Alan from the podcast. Like
Alan, the worm listener to the podcast.
Alan the worm listener. Like, just have all the Allens on a shirt.
Fantastic.
I love that so much.
Uh,
I stand with Alan.
But yeah, that Collins is on the take. That was pretty good. This is one of those few details that I feel like is large, given, you know, how this is sort of central to the plot taking place. This isn't like a tiny detail. This totally blindsided me. I genuinely had no idea about this. Like, I knew stuff was going to happen in this chapter, and I feel like I've got a pretty good memory for Worm, but I completely forgot about the vice principal being on the take.
That's so cool. It feels
that's
so
right, yeah.
good.
Mhm.
I did forget about that.
Our villainy has paid off. Like, we have friends in high places.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
it's a principal of a high school, but like high places, ladies and
But
gentlemen.
it's
Like,
the high school.
it's the high school.
Think about this. This principal knows, unlike the other one who knew the heroes were and like did, buffered for them. Here we have the one who knows who the villains are or has taken an educated guess and is like running interference for them.
So cool.
Ugh.
So
good.
cool.
So I was curious about that though, because Taylor brings it up and she says this really undercuts this victory over Emma for me. I mean, what do you guys think? Does it kind of undercut it? Does it feel cheapened by that? The fact that maybe the principal was extra harsh on Emma because of who she knows Taylor is? Or
I didn't
might be?
think
Yes,
so.
it's perfectly fine when the other one didn't care because they knew who the other parents were. In
I was
this
about to
case,
say, yeah.
Tattletale is, the faux parent for Taylor here. But yeah, no, this is
Taylor is the big dick swinging dad that shows up to the meeting and is like, I'm actually my
Tattletale, yeah.
daughter.
yeah, no, Taylor did all the right things. Like, this would have probably turned out good for Taylor regardless because she didn't go give into the provocation. So, like, personal victory. She gets brought to the thing with a witness who basically just goes, that's a bitch over there, and points to Emma. And, like, what are you going to say? This girl, like, like they even have the security guard who like is like, yeah, this bitch started something and then pushed her. Like at worst, this would have been like a chastisement, to Emma, and then just let what's her face go anyway. But this is like some extra fuck you peppered on top of that. So I think this is a win, and Taylor should take her victories where she can get them and be grateful.
I think it's so interesting though that it shows that indication of her idealism still, right? That she still wants the system to work, that ultimately she wants the heroes to all be good and all the villains to just be pure evil. Right? It's weird kind of how she hasn't learned like, oh, systems really only work if in a way, like, right? Like a pessimistic person might say,
Yeah.
systems only work if you rig them to make them work for you. It's just so interesting to me. She still has that optimism to say, oh, I wish this was just pure justice and not bought justice.
Right.
Yeah. It's not a matter. It's the system isn't wrong in and of itself. It's just the small things that make it slightly warped. Like the people in it are just corrupt. Like if only we could fix the system. Like if we got rid of those bad people, then the system would be fine. Never mind that it's the system. That is the corruption is the feature, not the bug, Taylor.
Haha. Was that a pun?
It was a pun. Thank you.
Okay.
Good job.
Also, I do like to think, I don't know if this might be reading into the text in terms of what Wildbow was trying to do, but I think back to early on, like arc, what is it, 5 or 6 or so, when they're all sharing trigger events and the rest of the Undersiders are pestering Taylor for why she's not going after the bullies, and they're all like really pissed at her for not getting back at them, and she doesn't want to. But like, they all clearly care for Taylor and clearly would step in and defend her if they needed to. And Regent does it in his own fucked up way with Sophia. And I'd like to think that Tattletale here is also sort of doing that.
Yeah.
Like just sort of passively, but hey, keep an eye on my girl. And if anybody starts to try to rough her up, make sure they're expelled. Just kind of like, just sort of a gentle sort of keeping an eye on her. Yeah. Again, I don't know if that's intentional or not, but I kind of read into that a little bit.
She's like, I got a list of names, and the principal turns it over, and it's just one name, Taylor Hebert.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting point, right? She still kind of holds that idealism.
Yeah.
In spite of everything that's happened with her and the authorities and the PRT.
I mean,
it makes me wonder.
that is Taylor's character entirely at this point, and she's very idealistic in everything that she does.
Mm-hmm.
She's got this perfect ideal of what how the city should function, and she thinks that her way is the best way.
Yeah, it makes me wonder how much of that, like her weird ideals, are going to shift in just an hour. Like after everything that's about to happen, how like I'm very curious to see the new Skitter, like how she's going to be now that she no longer is going to have an identity. So like how much of this, the good versus bad versus whatever, like still matters anymore when you have no real identity anymore. Like how much of that still has a hold on her.
Well, let's get into
what I was going to say. Speaking of what comes next.
Let's do it. Yeah. Okay.
Chapter.
So chapter 4, Taylor gets warned of this trap. This they're coming for her. Tries to hide in the school and then tries to escape. Decoys aren't working. And then Defiant and Dragon touch down, and we realize that things are very, very fucked.
What the fuck, PRT?
She was so close. She was
so close.
Come on, Taylor. Just quick, in and out of the school, 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
Then you can have lunch with your dad. Taylor never gets anything. Poor thing.
I like that the chapter is basically, Taylor says she's not going back to school. Goes back to school anyway. Regrets every minute.
Regrets every second of it. Oh, poor thing. Oh my gosh. Ugh. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, no. Fuck all of them, really. Fuck all of the heroes, because it feels like this is such a dirty move.
I think for me, the two, I mean, maybe we can do like 20.4 and 20.5 a little bit together.
Yeah,
But-
they're kind of linked.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can
let's
do
just-
like the end of 20.5 where she says goodbye and everything. I think that
Yeah.
deserves its own moment. But part of what's so messed up about this too is knowing what we know about Dragon and Defiant, like it's so funny when Defiant says, it's more complicated than that. When Defiant says we have to obey what the PRT says. And Taylor's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure, bud.
And Defiant's like, I can't say it, but literally she has to, right? Like it's not, I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
how much of it really is a has to, but in the sense of she has her programming, she has to do what she's told. It really
Yeah.
does. And I feel like you feel that from Defiant and Dragon. They're like, we know that we're messing this up for you.
We
can't
literally
really
can't
do
do
anything,
anything
though.
about it.
Yeah.
It is weird because you do get that vibe from them that they don't want to be there. That they've got bigger fish to fry, but orders are orders type of thing.
Mm.
Especially obviously from Dragon. Who
I
nobody
loved
else
it
knows
every
about.
time they fly by. It's like, hey, you. And they're like, me? Like, yeah, get down here and bring your robots with you. And they're like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Fucking stupid AI orders bullshit that I gotta follow. Okay, I guess I'll stop my super important thing that I was doing that was saving the world and come help you with your high school problem.
Arrest a
And
teenager.
it's literally like, we just wanted to say hi and sorry. Now we got a lot more stuff to apologize for.
Everything has
Yeah.
backfired.
Okay, here's-
Also,
Here's my
fuck
here.
you,
I have a guess.
Dinah, for
I have a guess
fucking
about
this
something.
up.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
shit.
I want to get to Dinah in a second. I have a guess
Yeah.
about something.
Yes, please.
I think that Dragon and Defiant wanted Taylor's help with the Slaughterhouse 9.
Yes.
Ah.
I can see
I
that.
think that that's
Who
the
has
real.
taken out as many as them?
I think that they were talking about Skitter, and Defiant was realizing he's like, yeah, I'd kind of messed up, and Dragon being the good robot counselor that she is, and we all need. She's like, yeah, here's all the ways you messed up. I have them outlined for you in a 30 slide PowerPoint presentation. And I think that maybe they're like, we could probably use a little help with the Slaughterhouse 9. I wonder if she'd be interested in help. Like, I would not be surprised if that was their original intention, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about this on the Dissecting Worm podcast, but I have an idea for an alt universe, a fanfic, if you will. But it's what if we did a Suicide Squad in this universe, and it would be exactly that. They recruit Taylor, they pull in Theo, because he got dropped off with the PRT by
that's right.
Crusader. They pull in Scrub. Fuck it, we'll bring in Scrub too, because he's got nobody. And that's their Suicide Squad of we're going after the Slaughterhouse 9, and you're all ex-villains, kind of Defiant included. Like if this is the only thing he's allowed to do, and we're gonna take all this really cool equipment and we're just gonna have kill orders. Because imagine Scrub just wiping somebody's head off. All that mesh does not stop your head from going to another universe.
Yeah, that's a fun
Yeah,
thought.
I don't know. That's a fun thought. Okay, real quick though, I did want to talk about the Dinah thing. Oh,
Yes.
what a heartbreak.
Yeah. Get fucked. Get fucked, Dinah. Jesus. That's so shitty. Like we have been okay for the amount of time that Taylor has been thinking about saving Dinah, and it's been driving us all fucking nuts because we're all sick of hearing Taylor whine about it. And then Dinah turns her fucking back and she just absolutely tosses her under the fucking bus. I'm so upset. And I don't think I can ever forgive Dinah for this. Ever. Ever, ever. Like, it doesn't matter if she's like 12. I don't care. I hate her. And I hate that she did this.
I don't remember specifics, but I do vaguely remember that Taylor goes through all of this whining work, through most of the story, just for Dinah to fuck her over for the rest of the story. That's what I remember in my head. Like, and so far we have been proven right. Like, God damn it, Dinah. Like, this may have been Dinah on her own, just making a terrible decision. This may have been somebody asking Dinah questions because they clearly she's not staying at home because the PRT has got her ass locked up probably and using her the same way Coyle was. But they're just like, could we, get, Skitter? And they're like, yeah, sure, you got like a 98% chance if like right now you like called air traffic control, got Dragon and Defiant down here, and they just immediately busted her ass because they know who she is, and they're like, interesting, let's do that. And she's like, God damn it, like, sure, that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario is she's like, you could do it another way, but one way is to just fuck her over right now.
Classic Dinah.
Classic fucking Dinah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Dinah did not fully explain to anybody what happened with Coyle, what happened with Skitter.
For sure.
And
for sure.
And so because of that, I wouldn't be surprised if her parents didn't say like, hey, you should go join the wards. Like, we know you have powers now. You should go join the wards. Maybe she does. PRT knows who she is already. Maybe because of Weld, not on purpose, but just like he was investigating it, right? And so they're like, oh, we can use you, nicely, as heroes do, quote unquote. But yeah, I think that's the only saving grace that I have for Dinah is that I feel like there's a better than not chance that she was coerced into doing this somehow.
Well, doesn't Defiant basically, because doesn't Taylor say something where she's basically like, she wouldn't do that, like she didn't have a choice, right? And Defiant's like, Is that was I reading that wrong? That's the vibe that I got. Was Taylor's basically being like, she wouldn't do that to me, and Defiant was like, think again, bitch.
Maybe. To be fair, too, we have to remember, right? Dinah was kidnapped by a supervillain, held there for a long time, made promises to by another supervillain, finally brought back home, sick and unwell and recovering from drugs. When her mind gets clear, who's to say that she wouldn't just think, this was a really messed up situation, and I can't believe that Taylor left me for that long.
I was gonna say, what if it's just her being as pissed off as Taylor was about leaving her there, but just pissed off about Taylor leaving her there for as long as possible?
Yeah. Like, I could genuinely see that being a thing.
This bitch could have gotten me out at any point in time, statistically, based on my readings, and she didn't.
Oh, yeah.
And she didn't because she's a bitch.
Yeah. Or even like just the idea of the PRT coming to her and being like, that like she was on Coyle's side the whole time and that she used you to get things too, right? Like, even just not necessarily gaslighting her, but just being like, Taylor's not a good person either.
Half-truths.
Well, yeah, the half-truths that the PRT knows for sure.
What does the PRT know? The PRT don't know shit.
No. Also, Dinah is a child. Like, okay, they're all children, but Dinah's like especially a child. Like, they're all babies, but Dinah's like 11. Like, I don't know if she's actually that old. I just don't like. She's so. I'm still gonna be upset about it, but you're probably right.
Oh, you have every right to be upset about it.
I'm so upset.
Yeah.
I also wonder too, because of the way Dinah works, and this is me totally speculating because I have such a vague memory of Dinah after this point. In fact, if you had asked me like 6 months ago, I would have said that a kidna killed her because I couldn't remember. But like her whole power is constantly trying to find optimal futures. Part of my mind, I guess part of like the optimist in me is thinking like maybe she just saw a better future if she betrayed Taylor here, just kind of one of those bigger picture things. I don't know. That could be totally wrong, but that's the
that is very
optimist in me.
possible.
Yeah.
That is very
Yeah.
She was
possible.
like,
It is.
saw a
Also,
bunch of
there's a
different
moment
options.
where
Yeah.
Taylor's like, man, you would think that given everything I've done for this city, the PRT, especially given recent things, the PRT would give me a little credit,
Mhm.
enough so to not ambush me in civilian
Yeah.
identity,
Jesus.
Mhm.
breaking the truce, which I'll be honest, we've talked about this truce, and I think it's a great idea world-wise, but we have never once
Yeah.
enforced this at all. Like, we start the story off talking about it, and then Coyle immediately outs everyone. And
That's true.
Where's the
and,
I
and
did
then
forget
all
about
the
that.
stuff
Really getting
goes down
broken.
at Leviathan, and then we get to finally this moment, and it's like, yeah, nobody gives a shit about that. Like, that's the unspoken rules, but they're unspoken because nobody actually follows them.
Where's our we need our Captain Barbosa. The rules are more like guidelines.
More like
Yeah.
guidelines and actual
Yeah.
rules.
Because like even Taylor, spies on Sophia when she's out of costume, and then goes ahead and immediately kidnaps her, and then also
Yeah.
goes to the mayor's son's house and outs him and his identity, not on purpose, but like does that a lot. So like, really,
Yeah.
come on, like,
Hey,
if
you
this is
can't
recompense
do
for that,
that.
it's been
Yeah.
it's been a hot minute. Nobody's enforcing these.
Yeah.
It's true. But I mean, you kind of speak to an important sort of, I think, underlying tension within the story, which is that a lot of these rules are just sort of upheld by goodwill and just sort of a tense understanding of consequences should they be broken. And like, there's really nothing stopping anyone from breaking them other than threats of imprisonment or something like that. But I mean, how if you're the one owning the prison, then
Yeah.
what's the benefit here for you? So it's kind of it's an interesting, delicate balance.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess the other part of this is, if there's no other villains in town and the heroes break the truce, like, are other villains going to come from out of town to like
Yeah,
enforce the rule? Like, no.
Right.
This is almost this is straight up PRT sanctioned. So like, none of the good guys are going after them for outing her. Like, none of the bad guys are gonna go after them because like the only bad guys in town are the Undersiders. So like,
hmm
and you're taking away the heaviest hitter.
well,
Oh man.
imp with a pocket knife, but yes.
That's true. That's true.
That's my standard for like how strong are you? Can you beat imp with a pocket knife? The answer is no.
Yeah, so they finally show up and fuck her over, and I love how Clock Blocker is trying to low key use his ability on Skitter that he learned from Skitter.
Yeah. Motherfucker.
Like, you dumb motherfucker.
So bold.
You think you're gonna pull that shit on her? Like,
Don't cite the deep magic to me.
Me, witch. Yeah.
bitch, I didn't teach you all my moves.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Well, I mean, we might as well get in. Do you want to just get into chapter 5 here?
Listen.
Did
Did we get Alan guessed it? What? Guess what, guys? We got a voicemail.
Ooh, how fun.
Oh my god.
Are we
Oh
gonna
my
live
goodness.
react to who's it's from?
We are gonna react
I'm
to
so
it
excited.
right now.
I'm so excited.
We have not done this segment in a very long time, but it's finally time to listen to a voicemail. So thanks so much for calling in. And if you want to call in, It is, see if I can remember this off the top of my head, 980-999-0438. And I was right, boy.
Man, you're never
Well
wrong.
done. Well done,
Call
Michael.
in, and you might be featured just like this. And without further ado, here we go.
Well, howdy there, Brockton Bay Book Club. I've been listening to your show and I really love it. My cat name is Jockey, and I just wanted to really thank you for your great show and ask y'all a couple questions here. So I wanted to ask y'all, if you got the money to do a spin-off show after your main show, what would it be? You know, me personally, I like the idea of a hospital procedural. You know, we get our seed in the world of the parahumans hospitals, or
Heck
perhaps underground fighting. You know, more of the mundane stuff I'd really love to see. I just think it'd be a lot of fun. And yeah, I think your show's great, and I can't wait to listen to more. Have a good day, and bye.
Oh my gosh,
Oh,
Jackie!
yeah,
Jackie.
Amazing!
Wow.
Ah, thanks so much, Jackie.
Wow. What a
I
good
love
cape
that
name,
question,
too.
Go! Let's go!
I mean, for real,
I
though.
do love that
Let's
cape
go.
name, too, Jockey. That's very creative.
Jockey's a
Jockey's a
great
good-
cave name.
Yes.
So good.
So
A
nice.
legitimate, that's
Ah.
a good question too.
That's
It
a good
is.
question.
Great
I love
question.
the idea of a medical procedural. That would be so
Oh,
much
man.
fun.
Heck yeah.
Yes.
I
I
mean,
feel like-
I've already
feel like we've-
imagining.
No, go ahead. What were you saying?
I was saying, I'm already imagining it. I mean, you basically have all the problems you would from like other shows, you know, where like you have the doctor who's really good at everything, who guest appears sometimes and annoys everyone. And that's Panacea. Like, they
Yeah.
kind of find her
Yeah, yeah,
annoying.
yeah.
Like, what's it like to, you know, study your whole life just to have this girl come in and
Mhm.
like heal people that you can't in like an instant? Like, how frustrating that is, but
That's
also
a
she's
great
doing
idea.
good. And then you can also sit down and like talk with her about it, and like the conflict of like maybe having to, you know, treat villains. Of course, you could literally do a parallel show where like Leviathan happens and then they're like having to triage, you know?
Yeah,
Like, oh my gosh.
that's
Like,
true.
yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. I
Just like keeping people alive until she arrives
Yeah.
is their
Oh,
job.
I
yeah,
love it.
Yeah.
And then you have like the big climactic moment where it's like you're in the middle of something. It's like, oh, I'm in the middle of surgery. It's like, you don't understand, doctor. Leviathan has come to Brockton Bay. And you're like,
Oh.
clear out the rooms, you know, move this, you know, do the thing. Yeah. Oh,
you have
yeah.
a hospital being taken hostage at one point, and one
Oh,
of the
heck
brave
yeah.
young doctors, unpowered,
Listen.
like
I've
stabs one
watched
of them with a
Chris,
sedative, so saves it.
I've watched
Oh, yeah.
my wife watch Grey's Anatomy enough to know this would be great. People would love it.
Heck yeah. Heck
One
yeah.
of them
Yeah.
has to trigger. You know, they're
Oh, yeah,
having
right.
they're having
Well,
a
And then you
moment.
have, yeah.
the stress of the job, and all of a sudden one of them triggers.
And then you have to have like a moment where like, you know, you have a cape come in, but you have to be really careful about their identity. And then there's this idea of like, well, the moral obligation, like that we have to, like, they're a villain, we have to turn them in. It's like, no, we have to respect that they were a cape regardless. You know, we have to, it's our duty to perform care.
Dad,
Dad? Oh my god. Okay, actually, no, I'm sold on this. I would take all of my money that I would get to do my own sideshow, and I would just back up Jockey's idea, and like we combine our money together and make the most amazing procedural medical show ever. I hands down, yes, with Jockey.
On a completely different angle, I kind of love the idea of doing a Dr. Phil style show with capes.
Oh my god.
Wait, go on.
Cool.
we could do that as a bit show. Like we could actually
Like, just
perform
imagine
that
it's
as like a.
That
So,
would be fun.
so tell us about when you triggered. You know, that's my best Dr. Phil. But you know,
That's
just
not
like going through
And how
talking
does
about-
that make you feel?
There we go. That's
Yeah.
pretty good, Alan.
That was good.
It's actually my impersonation of Dr. Cox doing an impersonation of Dr. Phil.
in order to help
I love
them get over their trigger event, we're going to try to have them have a second trigger. Bring out the bugs.
Oh, that's so fun.
I
But
I
no,
love the idea
Phenomenal.
of having like smaller sized shows that take place in a large universe where like you clearly are not following the main characters of this world,
Yeah.
right? Like you're like we're watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. We're watching a bunch of human cops run around trying to organize in a superhero world or something like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Or like
I mean,
a
I've
crime
always said
procedural.
another great one is just literally the the Criminal Minds CSI. Like
Yeah.
it's the murder procedural,
Yep.
but with superpowers. Like
ooh, or like even imagine, I can imagine like a Breaking Bad style show, right? Of somebody down on
Mm.
their luck in Brockton Bay, and so they decide to get a job as like one of Coyle's henchmen, and it's about them trying to survive the dark underbelly of Brockton
Mm.
Bay and the superhero crime world as an
Yeah.
unpowered individual. You know,
yeah,
like just
Heck yeah.
imagine Jesse from Breaking Bad, but as one of Coyle's henchmen trying to survive.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Also, Law and Order PRT. That's what I would want. It was because you've got the PRT actually going out there, but then the prosecution, like all the legal stuff that we would really want to get into. Like, we got a hint at the Canary case, but like,
Yeah,
gosh.
I love the little. I actually, it's one of my favorite little interlude bits with Canary. Is that like little that
Mhm.
that fun little peek we get into the judicial system? I'd totally be down.
Yeah.
Or I mean, hey, Brockton Baywatch is standing right there,
Oh my gosh, Brockton
Yes,
Baywatch.
yes.
and it's just like a
Ugh.
super serious Sharknado style. Like it's just a bunch of lifeguards trying to fight Leviathan.
Oh,
It's-
see, I was going a different way with that. I was going like a Bachelor or Love Island kind of show, but with superheroes.
oh, that's good too.
Oh heck yes.
I like
You know
that.
that all of us would sit down and watch that shit. Like we'd
That's
all be
another
cringing, but
good-
we'd all be popping.
That's another
popcorn.
good bit show that you could do, like where it's fake, like 6-minute episodes.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, for
Yes.
sure.
Ah,
Oh
man,
man.
lot of good
especially if you
ideas.
did it with like the bedroom cams. Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
god.
Yeah, just really, you can make it really like that way. It's really poor quality. Like you don't have to get nice cameras and stuff, but you could do a lot of work there.
Yeah.
No, I said it. I think I said it maybe on a previous podcast episode, or maybe it was just hanging out with the patrons on our patron Discord, which you could be a part of if you joined our Patreon.
Heck yeah.
I said I really, really would love to see the murder like mystery one, but it's super powered capes set in True Detective season 4 in Alaska.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which
Alaska
I
would be
know that already exists as a role play thing that goodness,
Wild
my
Bow?
brain. The Wild Bow did, like, I'm pretty sure he already did like a little like PR Station 37 or something like that, stationed in Alaska or some remote location.
that's
Maybe it was
cool.
Washington. He already did like a small town role play thing for Weaver Dice for that, I think.
Oh,
But
that's fun.
I would love just Alaska. It's already kind of creepy doing that 30 days of night, but you have like, there's very few. You're trying to figure out who triggered. You're trying to figure
Yes.
out like,
Mhm.
Who's the
you
cape?
know, yeah, like we don't have capes here. Or maybe
Ugh.
we have like one, but somebody in the town has triggered and
Like a whodunit.
they're killing people.
Mhm.
Mm,
And so you're like
I
trying
like
to figure
that
out
idea. Yeah, that's
so
cool.
you're like
Yeah.
trying to figure out what their powers are too, because like
Yeah.
Yeah.
the deaths are in a certain way that you're like, this is not. It starts off like, okay, somebody's killing them, and then you're like, wait a minute, they physically couldn't have done this. Like, this is too
Mhm.
weird, and then you're trying to navigate what the power is.
And the only cape that actually lives there that can help is like really secluded and doesn't
An
Yeah.
help.
alcoholic, of course.
He's
Yeah, it's like
crotchety and
Wolverine,
old.
basically.
It's
Yeah.
Arms Master, but like if he didn't get a redemption story until now,
Yes.
Yeah, and he just moved to
Yes.
Alaska.
like
Yes.
all he does is make a tiny vapes.
Mm.
Like he condenses all the vape things so he can rip massive clouds. But,
It's
it's
amazing.
the size of a pen.
I wouldn't go visit the hermit tinker on the hill, man. Some
Yes.
say that his
Nah.
specialty is sex robots, and
never been seen again, or whatever.
Kinky Colin, they call him.
No,
I heard he fucked a Roomba.
He's fucking a Roomba. And that's where we'll leave it. Thanks so much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jockey.
Jockey.
You
Thank
are
you.
the
Question.
man. Hell yes.
Chapter 5 is there's a bit of a showdown in the cafeteria. Skitter is outed in front of everybody. There's a little bit of back and forth between Skitter and Dragon and Defiant. Taylor rallies the students in a what's it called? The jury of your peers vibes.
Yep.
And then they fucking rally behind her and get her out. And we have a little butterfly to say goodbye to Danny at the very, very end.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got to save
man.
It's got to save the ending. You need a whole little section for that.
The
there's-
rallying.
Yeah.
All I need my moment. It's like, careful, she's a villain.
Okay, I literally was thinking that the entire time. The whole Spider-Man thing of like, careful, she's a hero. Like, it's so good. It was so good. It just felt right.
I really wanted just a little moment of her standing there facing down the heroes, and then you just hear Greg on your left. Just
Get the fuck out of here, Greg.
Damn it, Greg. No,
I do love the
I
fact
know.
that she has Charlotte there, though.
Yeah.
that is-
I
God,
her
that was
and
great.
Charlotte going to school together is such a vibe, and I wish we had. I wish some people hadn't ruined that, because Taylor going to school, fucking over Emma constantly, and literally having like actual employees working for her, but also attending school with her.
Love it. Love it.
And the vice principal on the take. I could have,
It's so
guys.
good. It's so good.
I could have read that serial for a long time. And I'm sure if somebody else wanted to run a power trip fantasy of that kind, where like, yeah, I'm a villain who basically owns this school now, and the superheroes go to this school, and I 100% have figured out who they are, and they don't know who I am. But I run the school now, and I have my employees that are other students here, and oh man, so good.
But they're not just employees, Alan. They're friends.
Well, it's more of a family, really.
It's
at
really
this
more of a
organization.
family.
Family.
But yeah, that is a
I
vibe.
love it.
Charlotte like giving her the lowdown while she's at school, and like, hey, you need to get into school. Somebody's talking shit, and you're like, oh
Oh, it's so good. It's just so good.
God. Imagine if the security there was like also like Minor and Brooks and shit, and so she just like gives them the nod and walks in like with her
Yeah.
weapons, and some kid's like,
Yeah.
how come she gets to go in? And it's like, yeah, because fuck you, kid. Get the fuck out of here. Don't make me beat your ass. I'll tase you again. Oh, asking stupid ass questions like that.
Oh man, one of the things I love about this scene though is how Taylor is like, okay, who have I learned confidence and fear from? I know. Jack Slash and Bakuda. My role models.
This is so good.
Bakuda, not the one I would have gone with for this.
But okay. But all right.
Jack
she's
Slash, I
good at
get.
crowd work.
Bakuda, not so much.
I think what she's thinking of is Bakuda's usage of fear to control a situation in the way that she did at the locked area,
Yeah.
storage center.
Yeah.
To control the people around her, right? The people who followed Bakuda didn't want to be there, but they were afraid of the consequences of not doing it. So maybe I'm sure that's more of what she means. But it is kind of a funny example of like, oh, Bakuda, okay, not like, Lung or Hook Wolf, anybody else. I mean, not that those are better people, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Werewolf.
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 Oh my god. Yeah.
I mean, who else are you going to pick, though? She's not going to be like, with the power of Leet, I learned how to rally an army. No.
Yeah.
No. it's the power of Uber. And it's that one Instagram video that I'm going to say Nick sent me, which is the dad advice. Like, when your kid's losing it, it's like, yeah, I learned from Uber that you can overcome failures. Like how I'm overcoming a failure right now. Looking straight at Leet.
No.
Good times. And yes, that was me.
Can I ask a quick question about this? Okay, so I love that they rally behind Taylor and that we get the instant stand up of like a third of the group, which is just so great.
100 kids.
It's 100 children, 100 babies just following this bug girl into the abyss.
And 200 that don't do shit.
I get why a lot of them would stand with Taylor. Like I stand with Taylor. So like I get it. Like I would be there right along with the rest of them. But did it feel a little bit like I felt like Taylor could have given a little bit, because she stands up, she's like, I'm not going to give any speeches. Who stands with me? Like, could she perhaps have given maybe like a little speech? Because I feel like just a tiny little baby speech would have made it even more make sense. Because it kind of feels like it doesn't make sense that they're all standing just like, yeah.
No, I think this is one of the example of like, these are like, this is all of the justifications I've ever had for Taylor coming back to pay off. And they say it afterwards. Like, yeah, like you rescued a lot of people in your territory. Like, and I'm sure those people talk to other people like, yeah, this, what is clearly a teenage girl in a costume, fought one of the Slaughterhouse 9 to protect us in this area and got her ass handed to her for like a solid 10 minutes and still like took him out despite it crippling her, and I think there's enough people that followed this to like, yeah, what did Skitter ever do that was super bad except rob a bank one time? All the other times are like direct hero to like villain confrontation. The only other time that they, I take it back. There was the mayor incident.
That was pretty bad.
But like the gala incident, that was direct hero on like villain fighting. Like all those are direct confrontation. The Undersiders really haven't done that much bad. The only person that you could maybe bitch about is Bitch.
Yeah.
And I think it's also worth noting that there's probably equal parts support for Taylor, equal parts just against the Protectorate and the PRT here. Like
that's the vibe I was getting for sure.
This is very much like Brockton Bay has had to fix itself. They haven't done anything, right? Like you're supposed to be the heroes protecting the city. Leviathan, okay, sure. Maybe you let that one slide a little bit because everybody pitched in to fight that thing. But then you've got the Slaughterhouse 9 and you've got, Bonesaw's plague and you've got all these problems and like what is an echidna? And like the PRT has done nothing to help rebuild the city except just patrol around. Like I got to imagine that a lot of these people were just done supporting them.
Yeah, just done.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, she even points out the people who side with her are the people who've stayed, right? They're the ones who've seen what's really happened.
Survivors.
Like you mentioned the gala event. None of those kids who side with her were at the gala. None of them were rich enough.
Except for one.
Except for Emma. Well, she didn't side with Taylor, though.
Yeah, you're right.
But point being, right, like these are the people who have seen the worst of things. And it's kind of just that thing of like, okay, when things went wrong, who was there for me? Like maybe everybody looks up. It's kind of like, I'm trying to think of a good example. But it's sort of like, maybe everybody looks up to like a religious leader, right? And you think, oh, that's a great person. Like, yeah, but who was with me when things were bad? Not, the people you would expect. And in this case, it's kind of that same thing of like, oh, the PRT, they're great. They're wonderful heroes. But who was really there for you when things were down? It was Skitter. It was the Undersiders.
Look.
Yeah.
When the Slaughterhouse 9 was in your hood, who you going to call? undersiders.
What?
That's so good. I really enjoyed that. That was excellent.
Thank
job,
you. It'll be
Alan.
part of Worm the Musical.
Ah!
Oh,
Jacob,
no,
Jacob,
no.
we're
We're
either
gonna-
scrapping Dissecting Worm or we're
New
doing
podcast.
another one.
Yeah. Oh,
Worm the Musical. Let's go.
oh no.
What's
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just that matter of like who was really there for you. Ah, it was Skitter.
and even
that's
like
what
look
they
at,
point out later.
at this moment, who is breaking like the cardinal rule amongst the
Yeah.
kids, right? Like it's the protectorate here. Like in this
Yeah.
moment, Skitter has done nothing. She is on the right side here, which is crazy.
That might be one of those unwritten rules that's the heroes know about, but I feel like that's also an unwritten rule that everybody can kind of suss out. You do not just randomly out someone. You know what? We have enough for this today. Like, you don't dox people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, that is a big cardinal no-no on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, because of the implications of just like absolutely
The
ruining their
implication.
life. You might not like someone, but you do not post their home address.
Yeah.
Like, that is an absolute no-no.
Hmm.
So that's why I don't think Taylor really needs to give a speech. I feel like the PRT, Dragon and Defiant being there is speech enough.
Taylor just
I
gets up.
guess
I'm a
so.
villain of a few words.
I think maybe I just would have enjoyed like a little bit more speech.
You want her to monologue a bit.
I do want her
And
to
then the
monologue.
heroes would have
That's
caught her
true.
monologuing, and we don't want that.
Yep,
to
but we all
True,
know how
God
that
damn it.
goes.
I would have
That's why she's a
fallen
good
for the
villain.
age-old trap.
There's the reference.
That's why I could
Yeah.
never be an actually
caught
good
Once a
villain.
monologue.
podcast. Once a podcast.
At least.
Has to be every time.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, yeah, I think I will say too. We haven't talked much about Adamant and Seer yet, which I just want to talk about their powers because I think they're
And
cool.
why should we? They're losers and they got wiped out like
They
as
did get
an
whacked.
afterthought. They got their asses handed
They got
to them.
whacked. But I do wonder. Do you kind of get the feeling that Defiant and Dragon don't really try that hard at a certain point? They're like,
Yeah.
you know what? The PRT fucked this up for us. We're going to let Taylor fuck them up. Like, we're just
Mhm.
going to let her, it's like, this isn't worth it. We're just going to let her go.
Yeah.
I kind
I
of
don't
love
know
that.
if they were gonna let her go, but they definitely I think they knew that this was gonna suck. They got there and it sucked worse than they ever thought it was gonna suck.
Talk about beating the odds, though. I mean, Taylor just continues to be like, okay, what's the percentage I'm going to escape? Okay, 8%. Bet I'm going to find that 8% and exploit it
Mhm.
somehow.
Mm-hmm.
She's
Yeah,
got those thinker powers, I'm telling you.
She's using her thinky box.
It's true.
I mean, I like the thought that Taylor, if you took away her ability to control bugs and she just had her thinker sort of multitasking, essentially,
Yeah.
she'd still be crazy strong.
Yeah.
Just put her in a room with a bunch of computers and cameras of the city, and she probably does just as much damage.
Yeah.
She's so smart.
We're so proud.
Are we at the end of the chapter?
I think we
For
are.
this sweet-
It's just time
sweet,
to say
sweet moment.
goodbye.
I'm gonna
Time to
be,
say goodbye to sweet Danny.
I completely forgot about this moment when I was rereading this. And I think in my mind, I didn't realize this happened. It's such a sweet moment.
Yeah.
It's like it hurts. It's so beautiful. And now our boy knows, theoretically.
I want to just protect him all the
Yeah.
time, and I can't.
Yeah.
And I'm upset that we can't.
I want him to figure it out, but not like this.
But not like this. Not like this.
I do hold to my own personal interpretation, which is that he's known for a while. but just never
And-
accepted it.
Yeah, this was the final
Yeah.
moment.
I mean, Taylor rolled up with a brand new truck for him, right? So like somewhere down the line.
Yeah, he's not an idiot. He knows
Yeah,
he
yeah.
knows something's going on.
Yeah.
Oh, Danny.
Sweet, sweet Danny.
Oh, Danny boy. The pipes are calling.
That'll be in the musical
No.
too, don't worry.
No! Oh my god!
I do love Taylor's consideration though of her saying, "I don't want his last thought of me to be something ugly." So she finds a butterfly just to put it on his hand.
Yeah.
Excuse me a second.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's just it really does feel like the end of an era, and I don't I don't want it to be. I think Danny could have been such a good villain dad. Like, all right,
Would've been a
don't get
great
stabbed
villain
today,
dad.
sweetie. Don't forget your lunchbox.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm upset that we never got that chance.
It's such a bittersweet way to end such a beautiful arc.
Yeah.
Minus interludes, obviously. We'll get there. But like Taylor's story here it feels very like final. Like you could almost end the whole web serial here, and I would be happy. Like it's not like I would want more, but you could end it here, and it feels like the end of a character.
Yeah.
It's the kind of the end of Taylor's character. It feels like
I was going to say Danny.
That was why.
Yeah.
That was why, Jacob. This is a reference to another podcast episode people should listen to. The question of what would you do for 3 movies of Worm? I think you do a trilogy maybe that ends here.
That's good. I think
yeah.
you can do that.
I could
Nice.
see
That'd
it.
be a good way to end a trilogy. And then if people want more, you can always do more, but you could also just kind of end it here.
That's
Yeah,
true.
I do like
And you
that.
could kind of be left wondering what happens next.
Yeah.
I have to
Yep.
imagine it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Agreed.
You could do it here. I'll also speculate if you wanted to make it bigger, you have them go to the you basically redo the mayoral thing where they're doing the mayoral candidates
Mhm.
and they bust her in front of everybody. Like it's actually a big gathering of students and parents and stuff.
Mm.
And at the gathering, a ton of adults and kids all choose to side with the undersiders against the PRT
That would
because
be cool.
of how she's taking care of them. And there's like people from her territory there and stuff. And they are like, no, like this girl was here when they're asking the mayors all these things of like, oh, what are you going to do to update infrastructure and all this when Taylor's already been doing it. And they basically comes down to like, I'm sorry, who's been getting you running water? Who's been like clearing debris? Who's been giving you housing without, pests?
Yeah.
And they can't answer those questions because they're not doing it.
Nope.
And that would be a great moment to have it kind of hit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that. Anyways, theory crafting aside, beautiful ending. I think, this does make a great bookend to Taylor's story. At least what you would call kind of her anti-hero's journey in the sense of her fully having to embrace the villain side.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's get into the interludes then. I think.
Yeah, let's jump in. So for interlude 1, we kind of have this perspective of Stan, who is the news anchor, trying to figure out stuff of like what's happened after the event. We get a little bit more, and then the rest of the interlude is kind of shown through different people throughout Brockton Bay as they're watching the news story kind of play out. We have Sophia's perspective, which is super, super great. Loved that. From Danny, the PRT, and the Slaughterhouse 9.
Yeah. What is up this is a part of this chapter and with Taylor's observation, but I'm going to blame this on Wildbow. What is up with dissing Hal or the vice principal?
Huh?
Just every comment, every
What do
time
you
she gets brought up like this, both by Taylor and by the
About the shirt? Her wearing
no, just
like
about her not being attractive. Like
no, but
that's
I
the
think
com-
I
she's
think
just
it
not
works.
really attractive. She kind of low key ugly, but like
Okay, but
whatever.
But the thing
And
though
they
is
say it
that
every time.
I think it works though to basically show like you might underestimate her when you first see her and visually how she appears to come across versus when you speak to her are two very dramatically different personas or vibes. And I think that's the
Expectations,
point
yeah.
of putting it out like that, is to make it look like, well, she's not very attractive and she wears kind of this like unflattering blouse and you're kind of ready to like be able to walk all over her. And then she speaks and she's very curt. She's very clear to the point. She talks with authority and you're kind of like, oh, and you realize like, oh, okay, my assumption about her was wrong. I think that's more of the vibe. Because Taylor says the same thing about like, oh, and she starts speaking. She's like, oh, just kidding. Everything I thought about her is out the window.
Yeah, she's got strong Piglet vibes.
Okay. All right.
I can see that.
I liked the news anchor bit. I thought that was a fun way to kind of show everybody's interaction with the story. That was really fun. I enjoyed that a lot, actually.
Yep. I mean, the reactions to everything is great. Like Sophia's reaction. Oh, died for it.
Yes. So good. Such joy.
And then it flips immediately to Danny and Kurt being like, you don't need to watch this.
Poor guy.
And of course him immediately just again the heartbreaking like is this my fault? Did I do something wrong? I think that's the indication he didn't know.
Yeah.
I guess
he
so.
says that.
Yeah.
We want him to have known, but I really think he just
Nah, he got blindsided.
Yeah, you're just blindsided by it, right? Like we talked about it way early on of the like, oh, that would happen to other kids' parents' kids, but not
right.
my kid.
Yeah.
My kid would never.
Yeah, it's the last thing you think of. Like you think, oh, maybe she's doing something a little sketchy and that's where she's getting the money, but it's like the one dude working for a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he might think that. Like, maybe she's running packages for a villain. And that's the worst thing he can think of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's so much worse. It's so much worse.
Yeah. And then so then it goes to
it's Sophia, then Danny, then the PRT, and at the PRT meeting, Defiant and Dragon are both there, along with Costa Brown is on the phone, and the Boston head of PRT is there, and then the guy, what's his name, Tag? He's the new guy who's taken over for Brockton Bay. He's there. He's leading the meeting. Yeah. Big
just
sigh.
Again, I think we see here that Dragon and Defiant at a certain point kind of gave up and was like, you know what? Screw it. We're just gonna let this all burn. We're so mad.
Let it burn, baby.
Yeah.
And I love the whole like this could have been avoided, the director said, on multiple levels. Most likely, Defiant replied. If you would have cut off the feed, deleted the footage, we won't ignore people's First Amendment rights. It's like, okay, Defiant. All right, you little sassy bot.
Yeah.
Sassy bot. Yeah.
I also love them talking about I forget what the context was. But Piglet basically says, I mean, it's about cleaning house, like going through and like getting out all the cauldron insiders.
Yeah.
and they're saying like, I don't think we should do that. And Piglet just goes, I mean, I wouldn't lose my job. I'm not cauldron.
Yeah.
And like obviously throwing shade on everyone else.
Yeah. It's like, well, if if you're not with cauldron, then you have nothing to hide. like, yeah. Like, who is
Everybody
it who chips
pulls
in?
a collar.
Yeah, right.
And I love that.
What?
Like, I love the whole like between Defiant and Tag thing. And he's like, "What are you gonna do? Arrest me?" And Tag's like, "Well, maybe." And he's like, "What are you gonna do? Send me to the birdcage?" And it's like,
Where
who
my-
runs the birdcage? Tag.
Yeah.
Say it.
Say a
It just-
bitch.
It's the all I can think of is the tone of in the Iron Giant when he's like, "That bomb is aimed directly at the giant. Where's the giant, Mansley?" It's just like, who runs the birdcage? Tag. You really want to find out?
Oh God.
It's great.
So good.
You love
So
it.
good.
Yeah. Also, fuck this Tag guy. I honestly remember having better first impressions of Tag from earlier reads, and this one immediately fuck this guy. Oh my God, fuck this guy so hard.
So
I hate
hard.
him. Like, and he's not even I love to hate him like Pigott. I just hate him.
I don't know enough about him to determine just yet.
Just strong I'm an ass vibe.
I mean, yeah.
Mhm. So I am interested. One small thing in that I don't want to overskip is a guy named Keen, who's not a director, Pigott says, but he's a liaison between the Protectorate and the various other superhero teams.
Mm.
But they're asking where do our biggest problems lie. And he mentioned something called the CUI. Have we heard of the CUI before?
No, but we'll hear about them in the next interlude as well.
Okay, cool. I figured something like that would happen. I was just curious.
Do we want to go ahead and talk about what they are?
Please do, because I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. CUI is China's superhero squad.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Oh,
Because
okay.
we've talked about other international groups.
I was expecting so much more.
Villain wise, like Gazelle Shaft and other groups that are just abroad. Like, I think we've even maybe briefly mentioned Canada's teams. But China has the CUI, which, I'm just going to assume is like literally the national organization, like the PRT, but for
China.
For China.
Because then he also mentions the Suits and the Kingsmen, which I thought was a great pair of names. And again, not mentioned, and I don't know that they get mentioned much later.
They actually do, I think.
Okay. Are the Kingsmen like England or something?
I believe they're both UK based.
Oh my gosh. That's so it's such a UK name too.
Yeah. The Kingsmen, I believe, is I want to say like officially the UK's team, and what was the other one?
The Suits.
The Suits.
Maybe they're like New Wave or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like one of them's not with the government. I feel like one of them's their own private entity, but I don't remember which is which. So, time to look it up.
Right. Fun. Man, this world is so big. Or how big it already is, reading everything. It's so much bigger. And that's so fun.
For real. And then I do love Jack's response. Just him being like, "Oh, this is so good." Him just smirking. I feel like Jack, I don't know. I almost wonder if Jack has a sense of pride of like, I had a hand in this girl becoming who she was in a twisted sort of way,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. He's got.
I definitely believe it.
I mean, we see that with his interlude with Theo, where he's just like, he absolutely sees himself as the center of the universe. And so, like, yeah, he totally has that vibe. He's like, looks like my work paid off.
Yep. But then we get the sense Bonesaw doing something naughty.
Something I wouldn't have used naughty, but okie dokie.
Does she still have like half a blasto attached to her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. They mentioned that.
Yeah.
That is horrifying. I had forgotten about that, and this was a quick reminder of like,
was it still attached? I forgot honestly if it was still attached to her or
she might have
was
made it into its own thing.
I was gonna say, or was it its own zombie entity?
It might
Oh,
have
it's
become
a
its own zomboni.
I think at that
God.
point it had become its own. But what it seems like they're doing, and I'm kind of remembering the future as well. But they have containers with fetal shapes of people. 10 named Crawler, 10 named Siberian, 10 named Chuckles, 1 named Gray Boy.
Mm.
I guess even they knew that the world couldn't handle 10 of that one.
All I remember about previous read-throughs is that Gray Boy is important somehow to Jack. That's all I remember. I can't remember if it was like an ex-boyfriend or whatever. It feels like it could have been an ex-boyfriend thinking about Jack. But
I don't know if it's that.
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
But that was more making a joke and nobody laughed. But it's fine.
That's it. I thought you were serious. Really? Okay.
No. In reality, though, I know that he's important to Jack, but I don't remember why. I don't know why they're not making more of him. But I mean, it's sad. It looks like they're making clones. It seems like they're making clones, which
Seems
is
that
so.
way.
And that's what Blastos power was. So
Yep, and I just. Oh boy, God damn it! We cannot win. We cannot fucking win.
Nope. Not a moment's peace.
I mean, that is the point. The world is ending in 2 years.
That's true. That's true. I keep forgetting that, like, I guess the big climactic moment at the end of the book is gonna be this big thing, and I guess that's it. But like, I don't remember that. So
how exciting for you.
One interlude left.
One interlude left.
Yes. Okay. So the last interlude is the one that I only read a small portion of. But so this is 100% thanks to Space Battle's summary. Accord thinks about his plans, and the Undersiders meet with the Teeth, the Fallen, and the Ambassadors, which is Accord's group. And Accord discusses the Butcher. Can someone else give me a better summary of what happens in this episode in this chapter? Because I don't have.
No, that's pretty much.
Oh, is that it?
They have it's Accord thinking a lot and then going there and thinking more, and then they have the meeting in which basically Taylor, or as Skitter, edges everybody out by giving them impossible restrictions to follow. And but knowing that Accord and his group will have to follow it for a little bit so that they'll like be amenable to it, but everybody else they don't want because they're pieces of shit.
Right, they don't want them in town.
So they know they're not going to follow those rules.
Okay, solid.
And then it ends.
And the Butcher, was there more about the Butcher?
So Butcher is, I know, one of Nick's favorite characters. And
Really?
So Nick, would you like to talk?
Nick's like, what?
She is?
Is she?
Nick, I mean, you're the one who I always heard talk about Butcher.
Butcher?
Alan,
Yeah.
I think it might all be in your head. I think you should just explain.
Maybe?
I remember what Butcher does, I think.
Well, don't give it away if it's not talked about.
Correct if I'm
explains
wrong. You even had a D&D boss based on Butcher.
What?
All right.
Feel like Gandalf in the Mines of Moria. I have no memory of this place.
Yeah. Because this was something I'm pretty sure we discussed like a long time ago. Like, you know who Butcher is, right?
Okay, so we're talking about the Butcher is the leader of the Fallen, right?
No.
Butcher's the leader of the Teeth.
Of the Teeth. Yeah. See, that I knew.
Butcher,
I got
Butcher
to that part.
14.
Okay. Butcher 14,
Oh,
right.
shit! I know who Butcher 14 is!
Yeah.
You didn't say 14? Oh,
yeah,
my God.
I'll be honest, I never hear the name Butcher in my head without the number, which is like,
Oh my
even when
God.
you say butcher, I'm like, that just doesn't sound right.
Doesn't Butcher get her own interlude later on in the book?
Maybe.
Possibly.
I
I'm trying to
think
remember.
so. Because
I'll
that's
tell
what
you
I
right
remember.
now.
You said Butcher 14 and it instantly came back. Fun fact, Hannah just remembered another thing about Worm that she did not remember 5 seconds ago. So, I'm very proud of myself. I remember Butcher 14. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
I remember what's mentioned in this arc, which is that Butcher is sort of sort of a all for or one for all sort of thing, if we want to reference My Hero
Yeah, a little
Academia.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's sort of like somebody gets a power and then eventually they pass it on to their successor. Except in this case, I think the new person has to kill the previous one. But the sort of the
Yeah.
souls of
Yeah.
all of the previous butchers also stick around. So each butcher gets a little bit more and more crazy.
Yeah. It's like
I-
a combination of the all for one mixed with the royal lineage from Stardust.
Yeah. Right.
No spoilers, but yes,
Stardust.
they
But-
do appear again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to know which
Yeah.
D&D boss I made that you think is based
We
off
hadn't
of
ever
Butcher.
no we hadn't ever run into it, but you and I had talked a
I-
long time ago. This would have been like
I feel like, Alan, you and I talked about a D&D boss that was based. And I thought this was a boss you were building for your campaign.
no, I never used that for one of my campaigns. I had a character that was lightly based on the reincarnation thing, but
Huh.
never that. But this was like an idea that I'm pretty sure Nick floated way back when you were writing. I mean, this would have been pre you running the campaign that you were running now the first time.
The first time.
Like when you were talking
Sword Art
about it for a
Online.
story.
What's it called? Into the Compendium.
I know our
Yeah, yeah.
audience
Nick had 2
is
kids
just-
since then, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a while.
I mean,
Lots
granted, this would have been, let me calculate now,
his brain is mushed.
probably,
Mushed.
what, 10 years now?
Oh, geez.
Like you and I were walking
Jesus
and talking around the
Christ.
apartments, if that gives you any indication
Oh,
of
God.
when we were.
That's 2014, my man.
No, this would have been
10 years
later-
ago? 2014.
10 years. Okay, so 8 years ago.
Interesting.
Okay, I'll go ahead and just kind of get us back on track here because I know our
Thank
audience
you.
is just
Thank you, Jacob.
so invested in the history of.
Y'all
Oh,
can
yeah.
chat
Y'all-
about
y'all-
that
y'all
Alan
later.
and I will
talk-
chat about this later.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get some pizza.
Not much
I'll be
left
right
in the not much left in the interlude anyway. It was a pretty simple interlude, not too much. It's kind of neat to see kind of everything from Accord's perspective, just given his
Yeah.
Mhm.
OCD nature and yeah. And his power is crazy strong,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of just gets glanced over, I think, a little bit. But I love the ambassadors. I think we get a little bit more. My memory is a little fuzzy, but I really, really like a couple of the powers of the ambassadors. It's some of my favorite writing in terms of like power creation that Wildbow does. And it's fun to kind of get back into them. I'm excited to read more
Well,
about
I
them.
love the names, if nothing else, right? Like Othello and Citrine
Yeah.
are
It's
such
great.
great names.
Yeah.
And we know that Accord is a thinker. Othello appears to be a stranger,
Yeah.
like Imp, and like what's the guy in the Fallen or the Teeth? One of them, Valifor,
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
or however you pronounce it.
Yeah,
Valefor,
Valifor.
I think that's right.
Close enough.
Yeah. And I think that thinkers and strangers are some of the most interesting powers, just from a design standpoint,
Mhm.
because it is truly that problem of how do you design a character who is literally way more intelligent than you ever possibly could be.
Yeah.
And it creates an interesting sort of writing dilemma for the writer. But I think Wildbow, of course, handles it pretty well. And I think Accord is interesting too, because he's another example of a good guy who went bad because he wants to do something good.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, he's kind of pompous about it, but he's like, hey, I know how to solve world hunger. Here's my plan.
Here's
You
my
know, like, no, you're just a finance accountant guy for superheroes. Just do your thing.
yeah.
Getting big. What's it
Jesus.
from live action? The Grinch. Planning out his day.
Jim
Solve world hunger.
World hunger?
Tell
Tell
no one.
No one.
Yeah.
So good.
This is the best.
Also, I love that that's still his goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
He's like striving towards a perfect world.
Honestly, I'm here for it. I'd be an ambassador. I'm down.
I don't know.
Also-
I'm way too clumsy to be an ambassador. I'd be
yeah,
dead in
no.
seconds.
He'd be so upset with me all the time. He'd be like, I can see the root. Like, I can see your roots. Like, dead. Like, oh, I forgot to bleach my roots this weekend. Like, okay.
I can't stand Accord.
I think I think his power is really cool, but I don't like him as a
I don't
villain
even
very
like his
much.
power all that much. He is. I wonder genuinely sometimes if he understands that his power will not stop him from just getting slugged in the face. Because that is like, he is a more useless power in that regard than Tattletale. And he is constantly like, oh, I could do this. I could set up the wrecking ball. I'm like, cool. How long is that going to take you? Because all Taylor has to do is whip out a baton, walk over, and kneecap you when this is over. Like, you don't get to set up that kind of, like, you don't get to be this much of a bitch when all it takes is one of these people slapping you. That's all it would take. Like,
Yeah,
he's thinking about car bombs, and they're thinking about, like, man, I could just stab this motherfucker right now and all those problems would be gone. Like, you are so lucky you have ambassadors, because damn.
I mean, it is kind of true, though, right? Like, the thinkers, I mean, all of the characters who were kind of thinkers, like even Tattletale, yes, she's got a mouth on her. But like we've talked about, how many times has that gotten her in more trouble?
So much
That
trouble.
if she didn't have a team, she'd be dead 10 times over, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Even now, she's got
Like I
a
said.
nasty scar that's only a scar and not a lethal wound because Jack felt like
Exactly.
it. Like, she could have been dead.
Should have been dead.
Should have been, yeah. You know. So yeah, that's the downfall of all the thinkers, really, is insane minds, fragile bodies.
Yeah. I mean, even Coil in the end. Couldn't
Yeah.
dodge a bullet.
Yeah.
Fuck 'em.
Which, to confirm, Coil did not know about being, like, basically used by Coltrane. We did have that confirmed finally.
What'd you say? That what?
Oh, that he wasn't
Coil-
aware.
He wasn't aware that Coltrane was using him.
Gotcha.
Oh.
Yeah.
That makes
Damn.
sense, actually.
No, I
We're all just cogs in
found
the
it-
machine.
Yeah. I found it really interesting to read this chapter because it's Accord. In terms of the thought process, after the first paragraph, I was incredibly bored for the rest of it. It's I forgot how rough it is to read.
I think it's a long one. It's a really long chapter. And I think it's the longest chapter in this arc. And the rest of the arc is just so good. And you're just getting through like this great bit of storytelling. And even the interlude before this one is like fine. It's kind of putting like a little bow on it. And then you hit this interlude and you're like, it's just such a shift in tone. And it goes on for 2,000 words too many. And just sort of like, okay. All right. Okay. 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 All right. All right. Yep. Okay. And arc 21. Okay. Hold on. Not yet. Like it's just, you're just kind of waiting for it to end because it's good. I mean, these are the chapters I love. I love the world building chapters, but it does drag a bit.
So the other groups at the meeting are the Teeth and the Fallen. The Fallen they're the cult, right? The Inbringer cult.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the Teeth are they're
weird.
just an old Brockton Bay villain group that suddenly has kind of come back. And
I forgot that they were old
right?
Brockton Bay. I thought they were just a general villain group.
Well, I think it was mentioned early in this arc when Taylor's talking about the other groups that are trying to butt in. Because she mentions the ambassadors are here, they want to meet. And the Teeth and the Fallen are both trying to come in.
Nick is correct.
And she mentions that the Teeth was an old group that got beaten up really bad like 10 years prior. And now none of the original members are there, but the Teeth do have Butcher. So there's kind of that legacy of not an original member, but has the soul of the original members.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because they went out of their way to get the soul back into one of their teammates, like on their team. And then they also have a ritual within the teeth to pass it along.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Alan, eat your pizza.
Mhm.
Don't tell me what to do.
I can hear it. I can hear it stuffed in your cheeks.
I've been leaning so far away from my mic while I've been chewing.
It's not that I can hear the chewing, is that when you were just talking, I could hear that you still had a little bit of food in your mouth, and it was kind of disgusting. But it's fine. I understand.
Wow. Way to fat shame.
No.
Classic Sophia Stan over here.
No. Thank you very much. No, I just meant that. Please don't talk with your mouth full. That's all. Thank you.
You haven't even begun to see a full mouth. I could fit so much more pizza in here.
Stop. So gross.
And if you want us to have more pizza, please remember to sponsor us on Patreon.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
Patreon.
This pizza is only possible because of our patrons.
Every time we eat pizza, it's because of them.
All right, friends. Well, I think we're at the end of Arc 20. Any residual final thoughts people want to shout out?
Just that I am really excited for what's coming next. I feel like this is with the end of Taylor, with the death of Taylor and Skitter now being her sole identity. I'm so excited. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the Taylor era to be gone and the Skitter era to begin. Truly begin.
We've hit the part for me where I am now firmly into, I remember the big highlights, but very little of what's between them. So this is going to be fun. I'm excited to kind of get back into it.
Yeah. Any favorite powers, either returning or old or new, I mean?
Such a good question.
Does Emma's bitchiness count as a power?
I think it counts as a weakness.
Weak-ass power.
A weakness, yeah. It's like it's a thinker 0.5 rating. Just can barely bitch better than others. Yeah, not a lot of powers here. I will say it's from the ambassador's side. We don't really get into the powers too much, but it's Othello's power is one of my favorite powers in the whole series, just because of the way Accord is like Othello and what's her name? The other ambassador, Citrine are like the only two to survive the slaughter of the ambassadors, right. And you're just ooh, how do they do that? And then Othello makes this one mention here where he's like, my other self saw something, something coming. And so there's not a whole lot of insight into what his power is right now, so I won't spoil it for what's to come. But it's a really, really cool power, and I really like the way it's worded. He's one of my favorite powers.
Yeah. Well, they talk about other self, and all I can think is, well, your name's Othello, so like I imagine the game Othello, where you like flip the light and dark side when you win stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah. Alternatively, if you were working for the ABB, his name would be Ikaruga.
Ikaruga.
Am I too? Do I not? I don't understand.
You know,
the
you know.
Okay.
None of us got it.
It's a video game in which you play a little ship.
Alan is a fucking
flying
nerd
along, and there
own.
are two types of bullets. There's white bullets and black bullets being fired at you all over the screen. And depending on which side you flip your ship to, the black side or the white side, it's not affected by one half of the bullets.
That sounds fun.
So
interesting.
Hence the like other self thing.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Okay, that works.
Michael, you can cut that.
No, I liked it. I liked it. Maybe. We'll see.
Fix it in post. My motto for life.
Fix it in my post.
Unnecessary, Alan. Jesus.
What?
So rude. Eat your fucking pizza. Jesus.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to learn more about Othello. I don't know. Anytime, like I said, there's a stranger or a thinker, powers are always getting really weird and interesting. Speaking of which, Valifor having some kind of like hypnotic gaze. I had to look it up to remember what he did, but it sounds interesting. And I also kind of liked Sears. I know he's like kind of gets beaten pretty easily, but
yeah, but I thought that was really cool,
about, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that Taylor even says like, yeah, this is a pretty brutal power, probably would have gotten him a villain label if he didn't have like the support of the PRT. Because you think about like what is he doing, right? He's sucking
all the
It's just
moisture.
desiccation.
Yeah, it's desiccation.
very cool.
It's like extreme water bending is kind of how I'm thinking of it, right? Like just sucking the water out of everybody.
Yeah.
It's great.
I'm definitely a fan.
Oh,
of
and
it.
I looked up his name too.
Cool.
Yeah, I looked up his name too because I was like, how do you pronounce this? Is it Siri? Is it Seer? So it is Seer. And I gotta find it.
How is it spelled? Because I was listening to the audiobook.
S-E-R-E?
C-E-R-E. Or no, it is
S-E-R-E?
S-E-R-E.
S-E-R-E?
S-E-R-E. Yeah, Seer. Which means being dried and withered.
Huh.
Yeah.
All
How
right.
about that?
It's an old
Wabbo's so smart.
related
The old English.
Seer that we know, S-E-A-R. But there you go. Little old English fun fact for you from your English
I was
teacher.
wondering if that was connected. Oh, thanks, Nick. Yeah, I liked Seer. I think in general, because there aren't a ton of like new capes in this section, I as much as I don't like Accord as a person, I do still really like his power and the way that his brain thinks. And what I think is cool is because we see that with Tattletale, that she has like this, her mind kind of like goes off in a direction and she has to like purposefully stop it in its tracks and like wheel it back in the same way we see that with Accord in that interlude bit of like him having to, his brain is like going off about how he's gonna like cut the building and like do all this stuff, and he has to like physically stop it and like rein it back, and like thinking about pushing Citrine down the stairs, and like he comes back to himself and he realizes like, oh no, she's standing right in front of me. I think that's really interesting that like the thinkers have a brain that can run away with them, and it takes a while to like come back to that.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of Butcher 14.
I really need to finish the interlude.
Yeah, number one, just for the concept of I had a character concept once for a power, which is like basically that, where they didn't find out until afterwards that their power, part of their power set was that they reincarnate kind of in the next person and pass their powers along, and they're talking to them too. So this is passed on. We now have the 14th one, and the powers have stacked where they have the ability to essentially never miss, whether it's with a sword and they carry a katana, like a big old dai katana or whatever. I forget which one, the show katana or the dai katana is the bigger one. And then they have the big old, what else did it say they were carrying? Is it a
They've got like
gun?
a Gatling gun. Yeah.
Like because they have like enhanced strength plus never misses. So boy, are those, firing a Gatling gun. That's a lot of bullets not missing all at once.
Right.
Like
very focused bullet attack.
I want to say there's something else about they can essentially make sharp objects sharper. So like all the things that they have on them, they can extend out. Maybe I'm just bullshitting that one.
I was gonna say, is this stuff that's talked about in the interlude, or are you just throwing this out because No.
Like, I know for sure that the never missing is talked about in the interlude.
Okay.
I know that is for sure. But yeah, like, and honestly, I just named all the ones that I remembered. Plus them being crazy from 14 layers of people talking in their heads.
Yeah, no, that's like schizophrenia on crack. Like, that's gotta be crazy.
But that's such a cool, like, it's such a weird, badass character, especially with the, like I said, a giant katana and a minigun strapped to their hip. Like, this is a crazy character.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would be interested in learning more.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's great. All right, well, I think that wraps up our favorite superpowers from the section. So,
let us know in the comments.
Thing to do. Yeah, let us know in the comments. What did you like? What's your favorite power? Is it Emma's bitchiness? Is it Greg's whininess and persistence? Is it Charlotte's happening to be in the right placedness? And is it the Brockton Bay himself, Forrest? Maybe.
Oh,
The Brockton Bay himself.
Oh.
I love that so much.
Michael,
my
I think you should
man.
play the song.
Yeah. Days. Oh, what a fucking bop.
Yeah,
That's all.
the
Just Forrest.
Brockton Bay Award goes to Forrest for sure.
Oh.
We should have done
Yep.
that sooner. But yep,
Mm.
good point.
All right, take us home, Jacob.
Well, Michael, I think that's what I'm supposed to say to you. But we'll go ahead and just wrap this up. Thanks everybody for listening. It's been a pleasure. This was a really fun arc, kind of getting into some of the great character moments here, things we love. Stick around for Arc 21 coming up for Brockton Bay Book Club. And of course, next episode will be for Dissecting Worm for Arc 20, where Alan and myself will dive into now season 4 of our hypothetical worm TV show, starting with Arc
Wild.
20. I know, it's crazy. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Don't forget to keep a lookout for those specialty episodes if you're a patron.
Heck
We
yeah.
do. We've been
We got
recording.
some fun stuff.
We got some stuff coming out for our Patreon members. And again, we did kind of shout them out already, but thanks again. It means the world to us. We love that. We love that you love it. It's a lot of fun knowing that that people really do enjoy hearing us talk about Worm. It's a lot of fun. We enjoy doing it. And yeah, stick around for all the Patreon members. We got some fun stuff coming out for you guys, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. And I think that's all the announcements. So with that, you friends, thanks for joining me. Have yourselves a lovely evening. And Michael, play us out.
Thank you so much for listening. Read along with us at parahumans.wordpress.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you love? What did you hate? Anything you think we missed, etc., as long as it's kind. If you'd like to get in touch, you can find us on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit at Brocktonbaybc, or click the link in the description.